Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Imavov versus Borralho. So without further ado, let's scroll down and get to our first fight of the night. So in our first fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Sola versus Vs McKee. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going low confidence Vs McKee to beat Sola. Yeah, this is a pretty competitive scrap. Sola's currently the favorite. Probably going to maybe shift to a small underdog. But small favorite currently probably going to shift to a small underdog, probably. But maybe because he's in France, they'll probably keep him as a favorite or whatever. But yeah, good matchup here. But I do feel like they kind of resemble each other, broadly speaking. Like, you got a bright young prospect in Sola. Vs McKee was once that bright prospect. Came to the UFC, and, he got to a level, and I feel like Sola's going to come here, and he's going to get shown a level. I feel like he has not really fought no one to the level of McKee. And we look at McKee, he must struggle against more experienced guys. Struggled in the ground department against, Khamzat Chimaev. And again, he's fought like more league guys. He fought very experienced high-level strikers, fought very experienced grapplers, and he fought tough, savvy veterans. And that's where he lost. And we saw when they gave him a guy that was, kind of his level and wasn't this guy that already had like 10 UFC fights and stuff like that. You saw that he was able to go out there and have a great performance. And Vs McKee, a guy that's, been a multiple-time Cage Warriors champion. Sola, I don't know, even think there's no real, like, major French league yet. But Sola has not really, again, he has been a champion at some league. But, again, he's a young prospect that's a champion, but not at a UFC premier level. Again, I see that resemblance here. And I don't think Sola has that great offensive grappling that I think could cause McKee so much issue. He's definitely a well-rounded fighter and a solid striker as well. But I do think that Vs McKee is the better striker. He'll be the longer, taller man. And again, now he has that UFC experience. Now he's on the other side. I'm not going to say this is probably the first time, because the guy he beat last was a guy that had less UFC experience than him. But it's like the second time he's fighting a guy with less UFC experience than him. And he has lost. Like, he had to leave the UFC, had to earn his way back. And still, he's on the chopping block. And, I don't think he's going to be so quick to give that up. And I see the skill in Vs McKee. I think he's a much more fluid. He's a longer, taller striker. He has that UFC experience now, and it's not like Sola has some great grappling. I feel like that would be the difference. If Sola was some real big puncher, that'd be a big difference. If Sola was a real technical, strong wrestler, grappler, or even a BJJ, a guy that could take you down and control you on the ground, or submit you on the ground, or just ground and pound you on the ground, that'd be a big difference. But Sola's like kind of a jack of all trades, primarily a striker. Got some good pop to his punches, but he's not really a power puncher. Pretty technical, but I think Vs McKee's more technical, he's longer, he's more experienced, he's fought better competition. And again, he has had those bumps and bruises. But I think this will be a good competitive scrap that will, show good account for both guys. And I think both guys can stick around and have bright futures in the UFC. But I think Vs McKee edges him on the decision. And I think it's a clear decision. A competitive fight, but I think Vs McKee is going to throw more significant strikes, land more significant strikes. And again, that experience will help him to be able to do what he needs to do at the right times, where Sola does not have that experience at the UFC level. He's fought at a pretty good level, but not that UFC level, and it's a big difference, and I think that's going to be all the difference. So in this one, I got Vs McKee via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's strawweight division, we got Bannon versus Sam Hughes. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going low confidence Sam Hughes to beat Bannon. Bannon, one of those fluttery kickboxers type of fighters, and she does have some BJJ, but I don't think it's nothing particularly special on her in BJJ or her striking, especially like as far as damage wise on the feet. She's not really a damaging striker, and I don't feel like her takedown defense is all that good, or her jiu-jitsu over her back is all that good. You gotta respect it to an extent, but I feel like Sam Hughes should be okay with her on the feet. I think Sam Hughes should be able to push the pace throughout, and especially in later rounds, like Sam Hughes, that's where she really beats a lot of women, is in the later rounds. Like, she just keeps pushing, they start to break down. And I think she could do what she typically does here. And I think she could just grind her out and get takedowns, pressure with strikes. Mixing the takedowns, grind her out to a decision. She could potentially get a finish. But Sam Hughes, not really a finisher that much. And Bannon did show a lot of toughness in her fight. So she was pretty much TKO, but still was able to stay in there and get a submission. So Bannon, at the very least, is very tough. So I don't think she's going to quit in that fight. She's not going to have no quit. She'll be in the fight, but yeah, I think Sam Hughes is going to be the one dictating it with her wrestling. So in this one, I got Sam Hughes via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Tavares versus Bryczek. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going low confidence Brad Tavares to beat Robert Bryczek. And my real biggest issue here with Brad Tavares is his chin. Like, he can be chinned by less technical strikers that have power. And Bryczek, like, nothing special about the guy. He does got power. He's aggressive. He got some power, but nothing super phenomenal. But I guess he has enough power that it's an issue when you're dealing with a guy like Tavares, who has been chinned multiple times in his career. If anything, the biggest thing for Tavares not really has been, oh, striking's not good. It has been like, oh, he can't wrestle. It's been it's shit because he got like 90% takedown defense ratio, so he can defend some good takedowns. He's been with some good wrestlers. He can strike pretty elite as far as in the division, but it's just shit. Like, he can be liable to get clipped, and that's a concern here. But yeah, I just don't think Bryczek's that guy. But again, still not gonna put no great confidence in Tavares here. Gotta be concerned about that. But as the fight goes on, it's only gonna benefit Tavares. Bryczek has not really been rounds. He's got like comes out heavy, phase heavy. So if Tavares gets him past the first round or gets him out of there, obviously in the first round, it's good for him. But the longer the fight goes on, I think the better it's gonna get for Brad Tavares. I think Bryczek got to try to come out early and try to clip him and get him out of there. But yeah, I think I also think it's not like Tavares that is beginning to knock about anybody. Let me say that, slow that down. It's not like Tavares has just been getting knocked out by anybody in his career. Like, oh, yeah, Tavares is like Michael Johnson. And that's no insult on Michael Johnson. But Michael Johnson, literally, he's more susceptible to losing and getting knocked out by anybody than Tavares. But even then, Michael Johnson still probably mostly lost to guys in like the top 15 at least, whether it be at lightweight or whatever. But it's some guys that, like, well, you got to be concerned about them getting knocked out by anybody. But yeah, at least Tavares has at least consistently, like, he's suspect to get chin. But at least they're guys that are, at least have proven himself in the UFC. Guys that probably had at least 5 wins in the UFC or more. I don't feel like Bryczek could even pinch together 2 wins if he sticks around the UFC, in my opinion. But too much yapping here. Bryczek got a puncher chance. Brad Tavares is better everywhere. I think he'll be able to extend him, break him down, and stop him mid to late second round via TKO. So in this one, I got Brad Tavares via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division. We got Sam Patterson versus Trey Waters. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence, Sam Patterson to beat Trey Waters. So Trey Waters is a promise of talent as well. He's long, got some pretty good striking. Okay, well-rounded fighter, but largely primarily a striker. Tall, lanky striker. But nothing too crazy about a strike. Like, he's a solid fighter, but I just have not seen that wow factor for him at the elite level just yet, in my opinion. And Sam Patterson is starting to show, the full package. Like, he definitely showed a well-rounded skill set even before the UFC. Like, submitted some underrated competition, showing striking here. It was like, his chin was definitely questionable at lightweight. It probably going to become questionable again at this weight class when he fights, the more elite competition and the bigger power punchers and stuff and the better strikers. But at this level where he's fighting the Trey Waters of the world and these other guys who only have like 2-3 fights or less than that, I think his chin should hold up again unless he goes there with like some real big power puncher, which he's not going in there here with Trey Waters. Trey Waters is not like a really big puncher. And Trey Waters has shown suspect ground game. And Sam Patterson has an underrated ground game and has submitted some solid competition on the ground. So I feel like Sam Patterson's going to be the, gain the respect of Waters on the feet with some pressure and touch him some power shots and then be able to drag him to the ground and there have a big advantage over Waters in the grappling department and be able to materialize a submission. So I'm looking at like a second round submission for Sam Patterson here. Fill him out, break him down, and then materialize the submission in the second round. So in this one, I got Sam Patterson via second round submission. Now for our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got William Gomis versus Robert Ruchala. And what language I'm speaking about? And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence William Gomis to beat Robert Ruchala. So yeah, Robert Ruchala is definitely not a give me opponent by any means. He's a tough, savvy veteran that's fought at a high level outside the UFC. Well-rounded. So it's going to be a tough test for William Gomis. Hopefully William Gomis shows levels and go ahead and make it look easy. But yeah, I got William Gomis here. No great confidence here, low confidence here to beat him. I don't think Gomis, he might not mix it up that much, but at least he's pretty savvy everywhere too, at least defensively. Like, he can defend the takedowns well enough. He can get back to his feet. He got intelligent cage work, defensive cage work on takedowns. He's long, he's rangy, he picks his shots well. And I do think he's the sharper, more economical striker. So I think he'll be able to address any grappling Ruchala does, and I think on the feet he'll be able to control and dictate the pace and the length and the spacing and timing and be able to land the better shots, land more shots, defend more shots, land more significant shots. and beat Robert Ruchala by decision here. So in this one, I got William Gomis via decision. Now, the next fight we have in the welterweight division, we got Fakretdinov versus Andreas Gustafsson. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Fakretdinov to beat Andreas Gustafsson. So Gustafsson does present an interesting challenge for Fakretdinov, because Fakretdinov has shown that he can have pacing issues, like he can't deal with aggressive pacing like that. And Gustafsson does bring that. But I can't get too high on Gustafsson because, like, who has he really beat yet? You know, he beat Chaos Williams, but Chaos Williams has shown in the past an issue with grapplers. And it wasn't he coming off like a submission loss prior to that, so he's coming off a submission loss to Bomb Theme. I think Michelle Pereira has success taking him down and grappling him a little bit. Not to say a whole lot, but enough to, you know, make a impact on the fight. So he has had issues in the grappling. Even outside of UFC, he has had issues in the grappling. He might not have lost due to those fights, but he was put in particularly questionable positions in tough spots in some of these fights outside of UFC Chaos Williams. So yeah, Gustafsson's style was more of a stylistic matchup against him. I think the pacing of Gustafsson, but I don't know if Gustafsson's really such a clinch-heavy guy. Well, I guess he is a bit clinch-heavy, but anyway, I don't think he's as savvy as Nicholas Dalby is. And I don't think he's going to have the same offensive grappling success he had against Chaos Williams. Fakretdinov has a solid wrestling and grappling background of his own, so he's not Chaos Williams. Now, if anything, if they had to, say they were to wrestle, I would say Fakretdinov would win the wrestling match. So I feel like Fakretdinov might, just turn it on him and start scoring takedowns and put him on his back. And you can't grind off your back. So you could grind somebody against the fence, you could grind when you're trying to take someone down, but if you're off your back, that's the best way to deal with a grinder in MMA. You put them on the back, now they can't grind, especially if a guy that don't have no great guard. I don't feel like Gustafsson has no particularly great guard, active guard, no great sweeps or reversals, nothing like that. So, and he did get manhandled by a juiced up lightweight or something, or a juiced up featherweight at one point, like probably 3-4 years ago. So, yeah, he's a solid threat here, but I feel like Fakretdinov should be able to have the grappling advantage, and definitely has that experience in the UFC, and he's been in some tough fights in the UFC, multiple of them, so I think that's going to help him as well in this fight. I think he'll come in prepared, not to have another performance like that. Could even see a stoppage for Fakretdinov, but I'll lean to a decision. I think it'll be a tough, competitive scrap, but I feel like Fakretdinov will land the heavier strikes on the feet, and he'll do a good job of wrestling the grinder to limit his ability to grind in this fight and beat Gustafsson by decision here. So in this one, I got Farouk. I said Farouk. Who's Farouk? Barack Obama. So in this one, I said Farouk. Barack Obama, the cousin of Barack Obama. But in this one, I got Fakretdinov via decision. Now to the next fight we have in the heavyweight division, we got Marcin Tybura versus Ante Delija. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Marcin Tybura to beat Ante Delija. And yeah, these guys coming over to UFC just have not really been able to come over here and get rankings immediately. I'm not gonna say they have not been able to get rankings at all, but I mean outside of Michael Chandler, he's on the, well, you can say MVP as well, but I'm talking about like top 10 and beyond. Like only Michael Chandler has came in and jumped in the top 10 off his first fight. Recently, probably like in the past 5 years, off their first fight. From a major organization. So yeah, Michael Chandler came in, he knocked off Dan Hooker, and that was some years ago. And if he came over, he beat Holland, but Holland was, I don't know if Holland was ranked yet, but he definitely wasn't like top 10 yet. So I think he was able to get MVP like a 13th spot, but it was like top 10 and beyond. So we see these PFL guys, they're solid enough, but they just don't come over and win instantly. They come over there and hold a good account for themselves, but they just aren't winning at a ranked level too consistently. Like again, it's been like, as far as top 10 and beyond, they're like 1 for 7, 1 for 8 or something. Whether it be PFL or Bellator. Yeah. And then you maybe say, what's his name? Jerry Prohaska. He came over and instantly became ranked. I think he came over and fought Uzumir, who was ranked in the top 10. But again, very few and far between. And these guys are very similar. Like broadly speaking, their styles are very similar. Like, they both can strike. They both can grapple. They kind of at this point in their career are more so had that veteran decision style where they'll look to slow the fight down, clinch you up, land their strikes, and maybe score takedowns and just grind out decisions. They're not really at that stage where they're getting these dynamic finishes too much, especially against elite competition. So this fight probably will go decision either way. In my opinion, I do feel like I like Delia's style more, but this is a solid step up in competition. And Tybura is rounded everywhere. It's not like Delija is a big puncher. If Delija was a bigger puncher and was really active in it right now, I might favor him here. But again, they're both in that kind of same phase of their career where they just fight like that veteran style where they're trying to win points and not really win stoppages. So they're wrestling more, slowing the fight down more. And Tybura has been doing that at a UFC level for years now. So I favor him here. And a lot of guys that Delija did use that style against, they really don't have much cardio. They really can't wrestle too much. So it was easier for him to do that. Whereas Tybura, he did have some easy fights, but he has fought some tough guys. Like he might not have won some of these fights, but he fought tough guys like, Alexander Volkov, this fought a solid prospect, one of Tom Aspinall's main training partners. The list goes on, Pavlovich and this and that, like 1-on-1 with Pavlov. So he's fought more, I would say, seasoned guys and more well-rounded guys. So I'm gonna favor Tybura here to edge a slight close decision over Delija here. Probably been landing bigger strikes. Maybe win the takedown battle a little bit. At least maybe win the wall and stall battle. But I'm not expecting the most exciting fight here. Probably a very boring battle of who can hug the other one the hardest and who's back against the cage type beat. Like who has who against the cage type fight. So, and also probably a bunch of leg kick tag going on. Like trading leg kicks. Throw a couple little flurries in there and try to hold the other one against the cage. So in this one I got Marcin Tybura via decision. Now to our next fight. We have, how many fights we got on the card? How many fights on this damn card? But anyway, next fight we got in the light heavyweight division. We got Omar Sy versus Bryczek Ribeiro. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence. Omar Sy to beat Bryczek Ribeiro. And this should be like a higher lock, but Omar Sy really dropped the ball in his last fight. But this fight, he definitely should win. He's fighting a guy who's coming off a knockout loss. Doesn't have the greatest fight IQ, or greatest defense, or greatest chin. And Omar Sy should be better everywhere. And he's definitely fighting a guy that's coming in with very terrible momentum. And clearly a spotlight fight. You got a French guy fighting in France. Supposed to be a rebound fight, so it should look like a rebound fight. But sometimes everything doesn't line up how it should be. But all in all, he should win. Whether by 10 miles or by inch, he should win this one. So at worst, probably like an ugly decision, but most likely a finish. And I'm going to lean Omar Sy by TKO, whether on the feet or on the ground. The ground probably be the smartest one. Probably hurt him on the feet, get him to the ground, and then they start dropping ground and pound on him. Instead of like on the feet, leave yourself open for a counter. But yeah, Omar Sy by knockout here. Again, I think he's the better overall fighter here. And he's fighting Ribeiro coming off a brutal knockout loss. So yeah, it should be a good spot here for Omar Sy to come in and look good and get Bryczek Ribeiro out of there. I'm looking at like a second round TKO. Kind of fill him out the first round and then put him out in the second round. Fill out first round, put him out second round. In this one, I got Omar Sy via second round TKO. Yeah. Next fight we got in the featherweight division. We got Patricio Pitbull versus Losine Keita. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Patricio Pitbull to beat Losine Keita. So yeah, Keita is a very solid fighter, but the level of competition he's fighting is just not really super respectable. And even if you try to find a competition he's fighting, it's not like those guys have went out there and really fought respectable competition. They're decently skilled and all, but Pitbull has been fighting at a much higher level and fighting a much diverser palette. And this is a huge step up for Keita in his first fight. Keita could definitely crack him and put him out. But yeah, I think Pitbull takes one. I think he mixes up the full mixed martial arts, mixing his takedowns, mixing up his strikes. And beats Keita by decision. I do think it's going to be a good competitive scrap. And I definitely can see this a fight where both guys get hurt. But I think Pitbull's experience being a champion at a high level for many years and fighting at a high level for many years and fighting other world champions like Chandler and what's his name? He fought so many champions. The Karens of the world, the Chandlers of the world, Pettis, who else he fought? Like Sergio Pettis, Ben Henderson. And I'm forgetting the key name, but he's fought like a handful of champions across multiple leagues, across over a decade. So, and I still think he got enough left in the tank to beat Keita. It is not like Keita's some point fighter or some guy that's so grounded in some sense. So I feel like there's still gaps that Pitbull can take advantage of a guy like Keita who still at this level very green and beat him by decision here. So, in this one I got Patricio Pitbull via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the lightweight division, we got Faraz Ziem versus Kaue Fernandes. And how do I feel about this one right here? is I'm going low confidence for, let me see, should I go? Yeah, low confidence for Raziem to beat Kaue Fernandes. Fernandes is on a solid tear, solid fighter, well-rounded, pretty scrappy. He has been exploited in the wrestling department. I don't know if ZM is going to really go so heavy on the offensive wrestling here, but he has started to show more offensive wrestling, so I can see that here. But I'm saying a decision fight for Raziem, and I definitely think that wrestling will be a big factor. I'm not going to say that's going to be his primary game, or like his primary game, or it's going to be an easy path for him. But I definitely think that huge growth in his wrestling, offensively and defensively, will help him here. He'll be the longer fighter here. And I think he'll be able to mix up on the feet, mixing those takedowns, and beat Kaue Fernandes in a close decision here. So, in this one, I got for Raziem via decision. Now, to our next fight, we have in the light heavyweight division, we got Modestas Bukauskas versus Paul Craig. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence. Modestas Bukauskas to beat Paul Craig. Yeah, Paul Craig's always liable for upset, so you gotta be concerned about that. But I think Bukauskas should have this. I think he's a longer, fresher striker. He's pretty well-rounded. It's not like Paul Craig's some great offensive wrestler, so Bukauskas should be addressed the takedown. And I don't think he's gonna play the grappling game at all with Paul Craig. I think he'll pick his shots well. And when you're able to put some big power on Craig or put some volume and pressure and combinations on Craig, either his power or combinations and pressure, either way, well, pressure and combinations or pressure and power on Craig, he typically welts. And I'll say first round TKO for Modestas Bukauskas. So I think he'll be able to go out there, put that pressure on him, and whether it be volume or power or a combination all, I think he'll be able to get Craig out of there mid to late first round via TKO. So in this one, I got Modestas Bukauskas via first round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the lightweight division, we got Balaji Oki versus Mason Jones. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Balaji Oki to beat Mason Jones. So yeah, Mason Jones, I was not impressed with his performance. He fought like a 43-year-old Jeremy Stevens and couldn't put him out of there. Got tagged up multiple times in that fight himself. And rocked that multiple times himself in that fight as well. And all the grappling stats he had, but he was not able to put the stamp on a retired fighter that was, as far as MMA goes, was washed in Jeremy Stevens. And I think Balaji Oki has power in his hands. I think he has good combinations. I think he has underrated grappling as well. I think he can address the takedowns of Jones and exploit the lack of striking defense. I said defense. What am I saying? The lack of striking defense of Mason Jones. So Mason Jones' defense was an issue in his first stint in the UFC. And it's still showing to be an issue in his second stint in the UFC. Like, he got to win, but that was a gimme fight against Jeremy Stevens. Like, you know, a definitely fight that could get ugly. But given the success he was having to grappling, and could have had more, it should never been a case where he should have been in some of these situations he was in that last fight. But yeah, I think Balaji Oki will be able to take advantage of him on the feet, take advantage of some of those openings, pick his shots well. I do think it's going to be a tough scrap. Probably going to be fight of the night, to be honest. Because see this fight, swings in this fight. But ultimately, I think the tendencies of Jones to keep getting hit. I feel like Oki could be in bad spots, but I feel like he'll be able to adapt. Where I feel like Jones, he's going to keep running into the same wall and making the same mistakes throughout the fight. And that's going to be the difference. And Oki's going to be able to better take advantage of it because you're not going to be making adjustments. And he's going to constantly be able to take advantage of the same mistakes over and over and walking into the same punches. And probably walking into that same punch harder, or that same knee, or that same overhand, or that same kick harder than the first time, or the first 5 times. But yeah, competitive scrap, but I'll say Balaji Oki by decision. Mason Jones does get cracked a lot, but he does got a tough chin. So that's one thing. But yeah, I can see him getting hurt, see him getting dropped in this fight probably multiple times. But I think this fight goes the distance. But I think Balaji Oki will be there to land better shots more consistently and beat Jones by decision here. So in this one, I got Balaji Oki via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in our co-main event in the lightweight division, we got Benoit Saint-Denis versus Mauricio Ruffy. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low. Well, let me see. Should I go low or should I go average? It don't matter. I'll go low confidence Mauricio Ruffy to beat I'm saying Benoit, like Chris Benoit, whatever it may be. Low confidence Mauricio Ruffy to beat Benoit Saint-Denis. I feel like Mauricio Ruffy should be able to address the grappling of Benoit Saint-Denis. And I think he's the much sharper striker of the two. You could say, oh, Ruffy don't got much defense, but Benoit definitely ain't got no defense. He get hit with the same punch every single fight. He always get hit with these left hooks and hooks in general. Like, his chin's always up, his chest is always square and poked out. And he don't have the reflexes to be doing what he's doing. Like he was able to get past the give me fight in his last fight. They fed him, but then they just now they're feeding Ruffy Benoit. So Benoit got fed his last fight, like Ruffy's getting fed this fight. So I think Ruffy, and also you can say, oh, Ruffy had that one tough fight against the other guy, but that guy had a much tougher chin and had a lot of heart. The same shots Ruffy was though tagging that guy with and dropping him with hurting will put Benoit to sleep. But yeah, Benoit, solid fighter, but defense is very negligent. And it don't seem like it's ever going to improve, and it's not even like he's speedy or is a great counter fight. At least if you're gonna be like that type of style, like kind of like you'll be open to be hit with critical shots, but you're gonna be able to also invite people to land those critical shots, then counter them and hit them with your own critical shots. But he's not like he's not a great counter puncher. I haven't seen any counter ability from him in his striking. But he come forward, chin in the air, chest square, completely linear to be cracked and countered. And I think Ruffy's gonna walk into a lot of shots. Matter of fact, I'm gonna say first round TKO. First round TKO for Ruffy. Ruffy gonna catch him. And if you're not gonna have any type of defense, your chin gonna be there. Ruffy gonna continue to crack that chin. Like whether it's one shot or multiple shots, you're going out in the first round. So in this one, I got Mauricio Ruffy via first round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the middleweight division. We have in our main event, Nasruddin Imavov versus Caio Borralho. In a very, very tough fight. The Brazilian curse has been broken, so Borralho should win here, but I'll go with Imavov low confidence to beat Borralho. So that's a Borralho low confidence to beat Borralho. That's a Imavov low confidence to beat Borralho. But either way, I'm going low confidence to Imavov to beat Borralho. I think this fight goes the distance. I think it'll be a very closely competitive fight. But I think the main thing I don't like about Borralho, if he showed better grappling cardio or just better urgency, maybe he didn't need it in those fights because he was already winning. So I think he showed good cardio in the Cannonier fight because that was all striking. But I feel like in his primary thing where he's primarily a BJJ guy, I feel like sometimes his fight, those are some of his most lackluster fights. Because who did he fight? He fought, it's been a couple fights that were way too close, and those were actually the fights where he had a lot of grappling sets. Like, he got reversed in a couple of those fights. He seemed tired in some of those fights, so he seemed like he got more tired grappling than he did striking. And your bread and butter supposed to be grappling. So your background, especially your biggest advantage here is supposed to be grappling. It would seem like you should be able to grapple and look fresh for at least 20 minutes. The other 5 minutes might be a little bit of struggle, but that at least 20. But it seems like he's struggling after like 5-10 minutes of grappling. And I have not really seen a fight since where, he just looked clean throughout. I've seen fights where he take a guy down and submit him and look clean. But I can't really pull him up right now. I'm not going to bother to. But it's been like at least 3 fights like that where he had a heavy grappling fight. And you could clearly see like his pace kind of slow again. Maybe he already felt like he had it in the bag, but that might be it. But again, I have not seen a fight where he just has this heavily grappling approach in the UFC, and it just looked like clockwork. Like he take a guy down, he controlled him, whether it be a born clockwork or a dominant clockwork. The clockwork just has not been like clock working, And Imavov doesn't have the best gas tank either. Like, if anything, like his might be a little bit worse. But Imavov has been working on his wrestling a lot, his grappling a lot. And he's a much better package than a lot of those other guys was. And he's hungrier than a lot of those other guys was. And he's at a better spot than those guys were. A lot of these guys were on decline or just not at Borralho level. Or just didn't have the grappling defense. But Imavov has been showing, again, improved grappling, defense, and offense. So I can see him, causing Borralho a lot of issues to get him down. I feel like anything, it might be a case that for Borralho to win this one, he got to gain respect on the feet first. It might have to hurt Imavov on the feet first before the takedowns start to really have success. I'm not saying Borralho's not going to get any takedowns. I can see Borralho getting a lot of takedowns here. But I feel like the same way that takedowns could benefit him, I feel like they could also hurt him late where he spent a lot of time grappling and he might win a round off that or take 2 rounds off that, but kind of causes his output to drop as the fight goes on, and Imavov takes advantage of it. But either way, close competitive fight, could go either way. Both guys could stop either guy. Both guys could take out either guy to a decision. But I see a kind of in the middle, close competitive fight. But I feel like Imavov is going to be fresher and putting up more pace, more volume in the later rounds. Pretty much the tiebreaker. I feel like Imavov is going to be the one working more and pushing the pace down the stretch. And that's going to be the difference. Probably a split decision type fight, close competitive scrap between 2 of the most dangerous middleweights in the sport right now. In my opinion, these guys are both like legit top 5. I could care less who you guys say else. Oh, this guy is currently this or currently that. These guys are, if anything, they might be the top 3 in the weight class right now, in my opinion. Top 3, top 4, but 2 of the better guys by far in the weight class. But yeah, I think Imavov is just going to be at a push down the stretch better than Borralho here. And definitely the growth in his grappling offensively and defensively will help him a lot here to, be able to make Borralho struggle a lot to get this grappling success. And even Imavov also having his own grappling success here. And then down the stretch, been able to push the pace to get the decision in probably a fight that's coming down to the 5th round for who's going to get the win here. So, in this one, I got Nasruddin Imavov via decision. And so that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Imavov versus Borralho. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.